Yeah.
So the only problem now, Zamazamas are going to old mining areas, which is very dangerous.
For who? For them or for the
them.
environment?
For them.
Siyabulela Ngcangca. Welcome to the virtual Mkuku.
Thank you very much, bro.
I don't understand why you're wearing shades, because this is not your mom's house. It's
freedom, bro.
It's freedom.
Freedom.
So
I'm free as a bird.
No, thank you very much. So the reason I invited you here is because mining has actually built South Africa. The South African economy, as we know it, has been built on the back of mining. Yeah. And you're in the heart of mining. And I just wanted kids out there to see you.
Yeah.
Since you claim you're a trapper.
I'm a trapper.
What's a trapper?
A trapper is a guy that has got a free soul. A trapper is a guy that can do whatever that they want to do whenever they want to do it without worrying about being judged by other people. So that's a trapper.
That's
so I'm
crazy.
a trapper.
So the way you look at work, because you're a mining engineer.
Yeah.
No one ever gives you issues about your appearance, your hair.
Actually, when I tell a story, so I was somewhere in Africa. So when I came back to South Africa.
Where in Africa?
I was in West Africa and East Africa.
Okay.
When I came down to South Africa, the guys wanted to give me a different role, and they said that, but the role requires me to have a picture on the website.
Yeah.
And I remember they sent 2 ladies to come take pictures of me. And when the ladies came through, they were like, dude, I mean, can you cut your hair for the picture at least so that, can look like...
You look professional.
You can look professional. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Look for a good angle so that it looks professional.
Yeah.
But I'm not cutting my hair for that. But that's freedom. That's confidence.
Yeah.
You need to know who you are. You need to know what you know for sure and add value. People recognize value than anything else. Looks and suits and whatever, it's secondary to the main thing.
Yeah.
The main thing is the value that you add at what you do.
A lot of people would look at you and probably think you're a trust fund baby. It's only kids that come from rich households that speak like this, etc. Sorry to disturb. You're fine with the drink?
No, I'm fine with the drink. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Spuda.
A lot of people would assume you're a trust fund baby. I'm a 2000. You come from parents that were entrepreneurs. Just very quickly, where do you come from? Very quickly, where do you come from, and how did you end up being a mining engineer?
So I come from at Herschel, Eastern Cape. I grew up with 3 brothers. Umthunzi nomthetheleli.
3 brothers?
Yeah.
2 brothers?
So 2 brothers. I'm the middle one.
Okay.
So 3 of us.
3 of you. Okay.
3 of us, yeah. And so raised by both parents, they're still alive. Both my brothers are still alive. So we grew up there. I didn't actually know that I'll become a mining engineer.
Herschel is a rich area. You come from a white suburb in the Eastern Cape?
No, it's not a white suburb. It's a village, actually. Herschel, it's actually not a city, but it's a
town.
It's not even a town, Pen, because it's got nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a tiny town.
It's a super tiny. There's nothing there.
Sure.
You cannot go. There's nothing. There's no shops. There's nothing.
Sure.
And I come from a village, basically. I grew up as Ava at the village. And I went to school there, primary school, and I grew up with my brothers and was raised by my parents. And then we went, we came to Joburg, to try a new life, etc.
Yeah.
And I went to Butlebemfundo, Tsakane. I was staying in Mandela. Mandela, it's Mikuku Kala.
Informal settlement?
So you
come from poverty? Basically.
I come from poverty, yeah.
Okay.
So we stayed in Mandela, informal settlement. And then we moved from Mandela to Extension 5. It was informal settlement still at Tsakane. So I went to Butlebemfundo. And I started there until I finished my matric.
Yeah.
When I finished my matric, my parents didn't have money to take me to school, to varsity. So my father just left. He's just resigned from his job. He was working at Tupperware as an operator, so he was earning peanuts. So, and my mother never really worked. At some point, she was a domestic worker, but she never really worked.
Yeah.
So
but it's not that she was sitting doing nothing.
No. She was selling Eskela, like Butlebemfundo.
Sure.
She was selling amakota at the gate.
Yeah.
So during lunchtime, I used to go help her out. to sell the amakota, K18, whatever that she was selling. So it was an everyday thing. So we used to wake up very early to help her to prepare so that lunchtime there's the stuff that she could sell at K18
Okay.
at Butlewemfundo.
So
So
there's no money for varsity.
there was no money for varsity. So I went to Bospec East. There was a school there, St. Anthony's, where they could take people that have passed matric, but you want to go better your results or become something better. Then I went there. And my father at that time, because he just sort of gave up his work, so he had some money, so he paid for school fees. So I went through. Then I.
He paid school fees or registration?
No, he paid registration, sorry.
Sure.
So he paid registration. And so it was amazing because after that he said, you know what, I think you need to go look for work. Because all his money went to my bigger brother, Umtunzi. He was in TUT
Sure.
to study real estate. And my father said, I don't have money, so all the money goes to your bigger brother, so you must go hustle for work. I was like, nah, I don't want to hustle for work. I want to repeat my matric. I've passed it, but I want to go repeat it to better certain results.
Yeah.
And he just paid registration.
The reason you wanted to improve your matric is probably because you were looking for bursaries and the like.
I was looking for bursaries, and I wanted to, because there's a certain threshold for you to qualify to apply for a bursary.
Yeah.
Especially if you studied maths, science,
Yeah.
and they looking for a certain percentage.
Yeah.
And I was doing when I first did matric, I did standard grade. And when I repeated with, I improved to higher grade with maths and science. And that helped a lot, So I was there, but I didn't have money to pay. I didn't have money to go to school for, Bospec East. From Tsakani, you catch a taxi to Brakpan.
Yeah.
From Brakpan, you catch a train to Bospec East. It's money.
Sure.
And back, same story.
Sure.
So I didn't have the money. So I remember one time, a friend of mine, we were in the same situation. So we became friends because we were both coming from a disadvantaged background, with Alex. And we both, so he started getting help from Ufada, but he continued to do standard grade in his maths and science. But I did higher grade.
Ufada was the person in charge of the school?
Yeah, because it was the St. Anthony. It was, yes.
Okay.
So Ufada was like, because I was one of the top 2 high grade maths students at school. So father was like, nah, we need to help this kid. So they used to give me food lunchtime. They used to give me money for transport from Etzagane and back. That worked wonderful. And father completed my school fees, paid the whole school fees.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So that's how my life started.
Yeah.
And how I got into the mining space. So I actually wanted to be an aeronautical engineer.
Jeez, what's that?
Aeronautical engineer, it's the guys that design planes and working in aerospace.
And you'd seen that way as a kid from Etsakan and from Herschel.
So how it started is that I met a mechanical engineer first.
Yeah.
And then this guy was like a distant family member,
Yeah.
that used to work overseas and whatever. So when he came, I was so fascinated about what he does. Then he says, no, I'm a mechanical engineer, etc. So I was like, damn.
He had money as well?
He had money.
I can imagine. I want this guy's money.
So I was like, damn, I wanna be this guy.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what mechanical engineering is. And as I started, when I came to Joburg, for the first time I went to a library. So when I started reading about what I want to be, then I realized that you can study mechanical engineering up to a 3rd year, the 4th year or so, you start measuring into other things.
Sure.
So then I saw about airplanes because I've never been in an airplane before. So I thought, damn, if I can study this thing, I can be in this thing all the time. That was my interest. So then I said, no, I want to be aeronautical engineer. And but for me to be that, I need to get a bursary to be a mechanical engineer, then major
In
last year,
aeronautics.
whatever, yes.
Yeah.
So what I've done is, so then that was done completely. And when I finished at St. Anthony's, I didn't have a place to go. So I remember my father's words to say that you could have just went to look for work. This repeating of matric was a waste of time. And the brother only paid, registration.
Sure.
And then I left Then I started applying but just before that year ended, I started applying for bursaries and such. Then I started getting introduced to bursaries. And got a bursary at ISCO. It was Kumba Resources, ISCO. They were changing that time, and I went through so if they take you regardless of your results. So there was kids there from Limpopo that had like 92% mathematics higher grade, 100% accounting, whatever.
Sure.
But they take everybody. So what they do is that bridging school is that they take you through, you become part of their program, and they had a sort of an agreement with Tekis whereby they take us there. If I want to be a mechanical engineer, I remember that time they were designing a gearbox for X5. So we went there as mechanically engineering students, or students to go learn about something. So they used to take you there.
This is the University of Pretoria.
University of Pretoria,
Sure.
yes. So we did that. That was quite interesting for me. And during that year, because I knew that ISCO is not going to sponsor all of us to go to varsity.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure that I apply for bursaries in other places. So they encourage all of us. There were like 33, 34 students that they've taken out of 3,000 pool that applied for the job.
Sure.
So I applied. So Lonmin Platinum came through and gave me a bursary. So because I went there for mechanical engineering sort of bursary, but I couldn't. So the guy, I remember Steph Standard, I'll never forget his name. So he came through and said, "You know what, Sia? I think you don't look like a mining. You don't look like a mechanical engineer.
You don't look like.
Yeah, you look like a miner. You'll make a very good miner." I said to him, "What is a miner?" He says, "No, you'll know."
That wasn't a racist thing to say? He wasn't saying you look good as someone digging at the bottom. That's not what he was saying.
I didn't even think of it like that, eh?
Okay.
Because I didn't even know what is a miner is.
Sure.
I didn't know what is mining. And I said, okay, cool. They sent me a contract. So we were 1,500 of us that applied. They wanted 12.
Sure.
So
1,000?
500.
And they wanted 12.
Yeah, they wanted 7 blacks and 5 whites.
Sure.
And I was part of the 7 blacks that came through. When I went there, number one, I'm acrophobic. So I'm scared of heights. So this thing of getting into a cage, going down, it's a problem for me.
Yeah.
But when they sent the contract, damn, dude, it was $4,000 a month. I was like,
Jeez.
Oh my word, I didn't even have a bank account for that
What's
matter.
$4,000 after you graduate?
4,000. No.
Or while you're going to study?
No. When I left ISCO Kumba,
Yes.
I was still a matriculant.
Yeah.
Then I went to Lonmin to become their student.
Yeah.
And that's what they paid. 3.8, $4,000. Somewhere
Into
there.
your account. For living.
I had to go open a bank account, Standard Bank account. That's what they were paying
Jeez,
me.
you were balling.
Dude,
Out of control.
My dad, because when he left, parents, they come from Joburg, Cape Town, wherever. They come to the villages. They don't have money to finish whatever they've started. So my father couldn't finish his house because it was too expensive. So whatever money that I made there, I gave it to my father to finish the house that they're staying in now.
It's brilliant.
So I never really had money for myself. The only money that I spent for myself is to buy myself a cell phone because I never had one.
Yeah.
So, and the rest of the money went to them. So
You ended up studying mining engineering.
So I went to Vetstech, University of Joburg now, and I studied mining engineering. I finished. So I hated working underground, for obvious reasons. And I decided, what, there's no way that mining is all about underground, man.
Yeah.
And there must be something else. So I started studying, reading a lot, going to the library at UJ, checking what is it that a mining engineer can do. Then I realized, a mining engineer can work at the bank. A mining engineer...
At the bank?
Yeah. Because, who does evaluation if you come ask for money to go open a mine?
Okay.
So they can work at the... Then I realized, no, man, these guys are not teaching this at school. And that was like on my 4th year, on my final year.
Sure.
then I'm thinking, these guys have never taught us this. But I want to be this. I don't want to go work underground and dig and it's risky and it creates anxiety for me, to go down the hole, etc. I don't want to do that.
Just to take a step back, what is engineering, number one, as a concept? And then
Yeah.
number two, what is mining engineering?
So let me start like this. A mine, it's a site.
Okay.
So if you as Penwell, you want to, you got mining rights and everything for a specific area, so you can say that Penwell gold mining,
Yes.
that's a mine. Okay? Then mining itself, it's when you go and extract the valuable resources from the ground using different methods, underground, open pit, quarry, whatever that you want to use. Then that's mining,
Okay.
an extraction of valuable minerals from the ground
Okay.
using different methods.
Okay.
So the and the engineering part of it in the mining, it's where it comes to the planning, the design of how you're going to do this, etc. That's when the engineering part comes in.
So my understanding is if you're speaking engineer, you're speaking people that plan, that design. So if you're
Yes.
speaking engineers that build bridges,
Yes.
they design how a mine is going to be mined,
Yes.
basically.
Yes. They design.
And
They
that's
give
what
you a
mining
plan.
engineering is.
Yes. They give you a plan. They say, okay, here's a plan. For you to start digging, you must start from this point,
Sure.
going north or south or west,
Yeah.
based on these reasons. Then you start mining that way.
You mentioned something very interesting, that there's different types of mining.
Yes.
What are the different types? So there's a piece of land.
Yeah.
On that piece of land, what are the various ways that we can extract minerals?
So the geologist will go and let you know that the minerals.
What's a geologist?
A geologist is people that go and do exploration. They go check. So they go drill, take samples, and see if these minerals that you say they are here, they are there, and how much of those are there. And they will tell you your reserves and your resources based on the drilling that they're doing.
Okay.
And then they'll come through and say, okay, fine, we think that this specific area has 3 million ounces of gold.
Okay.
And
so
then,
the geologists go to check any site
yes,
that potentially has value
yes,
to see
in
how
simple
much
terms,
there is, just using a sample, and then
Yes.
they come back.
Then they come back.
Yeah.
And then they say, no, there's 3 million ounces there potentially that you can be able to extract. However, we need to continuously do drilling and checking whatever, even when the mine continues.
Yeah.
So the geologist is there from the beginning up until the end.
Okay.
So then the miners go there and mine and take out whatever that according to plan
Sure.
that's there, and that goes for processing depending what you're mining, and then they process it through the plant. Mostly in South Africa, they will they would send out raw material to other countries like China, India, or wherever in the world.
Sorry, what are the different types of mining? You mentioned something like open cast. What are those things? Because you've told us the
So there's
geologist
underground.
the geologist goes to check, of
Yeah.
course, and then the geologist comes back and tells you this is what we found.
Yeah.
And then from there, what happens there for you guys to decide we're drilling how far, or we're not drilling? What are the
Okay.
different types of mining?
So there's underground mining,
Okay.
where you go down the shaft, and then you open tunnels.
Why
and
do
then-
you do that?
Because, so for example, you find out the minerals are far at the bottom,
Okay.
and the only economical way to extract them is to dig a tunnel and then go extract them.
Okay.
Okay. Open pit mining, it's when the minerals or the resources or whatever that you want to mine outcrops. It's at the surface.
Okay.
So it's easier for you to dig from the surface, and it's cheaper for you to do that.
Sure.
So those are different types. Then there's a quarry. Quarry mostly in South Africa can be used for, like if you want to mine gravel for construction, and so and there's coal mines for that people use quarry method to mine them. It's like an open pit, but it's tiny.
Okay.
They go dig them.
I think for me, this is interesting because when you speak to a normal person, to them, mining is just digging into the ground. And you're basically saying not all mining is digging.
Nah.
Some mining
Nah.
you can do at a surface level.
Nah.
You might be driving past something that's open and they tell you it's a mine and you're like, but there's nothing going down. And you say, no, but all that mining is extracting resources.
Yes.
And then number two, you're speaking about a quarry, which you're saying if you're looking for stones like gravel,
yeah.
that's also open, but then you extract it in the open.
Yeah, it's because it's in the open.
Sure.
You go just dig it out, crush it, and then you use it for whatever you want to use it for.
Okay. So after you guys have extracted, you're speaking about processing.
Yes.
Okay. What happens to the stuff then? So I've dug up some gold. How does it go from being dug up to what we have today?
So you dig the gold.
Let's say gold and diamonds, because at least coal is a bit more basic. But
Yes.
I think diamonds and gold need to be worked on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you dig the gold out, and you take it to the processing plant using different methods to extract, because you must remember it's soil.
Sure.
And the gold is in the soil or the rock or whatever the case might be. And then you dump it into the crusher or a sizer, and then it goes through the process, and you mill it, you grind, you mill it, and you take it through different stages. Okay? And at the end, you get a gold bar,
Sure.
you know? And once you've got that gold bar, then, because in South Africa, we don't, we refine, but we don't sort of realize the final value of the gold itself.
Yeah.
The final value meaning that creating jewelry, creating whatever that the gold does in the world, you know. So we send it to different countries. India buys a lot of gold, you know.
To process it further, or
To
add
process
value.
it to add
final-
value
Okay.
to the final product that you've released. Because that's raw.
I believe that's what we call beneficiation.
Beneficiation. So beneficiation is when you create an additional value
Yeah.
to the product that you've produced.
Okay.
So
Do you know if this applies only to mining or any product? Like if I want to take a tomato and turn it into tomato sauce, is that also beneficiation?
that's beneficiation.
So it's not just restricted to mining.
It's not only restricted. to
Anytime
mining.
you add value to a raw product.
100%.
Okay.
You beneficiate the product.
Why are we not beneficiating in South Africa?
So we do, but tiny. So I'll give you an example. Coal. Coal is the biggest generator of electricity in South Africa.
Yes.
Coal also helps in the cement production. Coal also helps.
It helps in cement production.
Yeah.
But is it a part of cement or is it just part of
Yeah,
the production?
ash.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So mining is quite important, bro.
Yeah.
Mining is super important for us, and also you can also use coal in the production of gas.
Yeah.
You know, so coal is extremely important, and we beneficiate it in South Africa. So we produce it and beneficiate it, we sell it to Eskom and whoever else wants it for whatever that they want it for. So that's coal.
Yeah.
And then you've got iron ore. Iron ore as well. You produce it. When it leaves the iron ore mines in the Northern Cape, it's in stones, so it's raw.
Yeah.
So it goes to China. In South Africa, it used to go to Highveld, you know, Highveld steel in Mpumalanga.
Yeah.
So they used to go there and then produce steel from that.
Sure.
And then they get the final product that we can use today.
Mawati used to, we don't do it anymore.
So I think it was in 2016 when they closed down Highveld. And the reason why they closed down Highveld is because China was bringing cheap steel. So they used to go there and produce and bring it back to South Africa. And once they brought it back to South Africa, it's cheaper. So the people are like, hey man, why am I buying from Highveld if I can get it for free from China?
Sure.
And then what happened is that then Highveld collapsed because nobody was buying from them.
Would you argue that the reason we don't beneficiate as much in South Africa is not so much because we can't build the industry and infrastructure, but it's because it's very costly for that and also costly because of the labor? And it's cheaper to send it to other countries and rather bring it back?
I think the latter is correct. I mean, the labor portion of it is correct. I mean, China, if you take anything there, it's cheaper to produce.
Yeah.
And in South Africa, because of regulations and the government involvement, it's quite expensive to do this.
Yeah.
So companies, you know, they will run at a loss for them to be able to do things like that. So when it comes, you know, Highveld is back now. There's a company, I just forgot the name, that acquired Highveld.
Yeah.
And the Highveld is back and it's kicking now.
No,
It's
that's
back.
brilliant.
So they're going to be. So I think it's back as something else, not Highveld, because they've acquired it.
Sure.
And I think there's also a PE company that is part of that acquisition. So I don't know how the deal is structured really, but I know there's a PE company and someone else. So they bought over Highveld so that they can start sort of beneficiating the thing. I mean, Pen, mining employs about plus minus 500,000 people in South Africa.
Is that a lot?
For me,
I'm asking because we've got a high unemployment. And I know for a long time mining was the backbone of our economy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is anymore. So I don't know if 500,000 is a lot of people, relatively speaking.
I think
I know government employs, I think, 1.3 million. But this is teachers, nurses, police, etc., which is high.
yeah.
500,000 is high?
I think 500,000 is high looking at the mining industry strive. I mean,
Yeah.
if you check, there are about plus minus 550 mines in South Africa.
550.
Yeah.
Okay. This is
From-
all types. Open pit,
Doesn't matter.
quarry,
Doesn't matter.
underground. Okay.
Small, big, whatever the case might be.
Sure.
550 plus minus registered at the DMRE, Department of Minerals and Energy.
Thank you.
And look, man, I mean, if those people employ about 500,000 people, it's quite a lot.
For 550 sites, I understand now.
Yeah, it's quite it's quite a lot.
You mentioned something interesting now, the small and big. How do you quantify what's a small mine and what's a big mine?
So a big mine, it's a huge commercial mine. So there's mines like a Penwell goes and apply for a mining license because he managed to find out that there might be coal or gold or whatever
Sure.
in Newcastle. And he goes there and says, okay, goes through the process of the DMRE and to apply. You put an application online and then you submit whatever supporting document that they need from you.
Yeah.
And then you get that. Once you get that, and then from there they say, Pen, you've got a mining right for that area. But you must remember, all the minerals in South Africa belongs to the state.
Please explain that. You know, I've had arguments with people about this thing. I buy a piece of land, 50 hectares. I find a bit of oil, a bit of gold, and I'm like, yes, sis, I'm rich. Am I not rich? It's my land. I bought it.
Look, I think you're rich. However, you cannot restrict the state from taking the minerals when they want to extract them through a private company or whatever.
Is it not my land?
It is
Or,
your land.
or do I only
Look,
own what's on the top?
you own the land, but not the minerals underneath the land.
Anything I find is not mine.
No.
It belongs to the state.
It belongs to the state, and you need
crazy.
to. That's why you need to apply for you to extract it.
I can do that as the landowner.
Yeah, you can do that. It's
Okay.
easier. You can go apply to the government. They'll give you rules and regulations and forms and whatever. And it's actually easier when you own the land
Sure.
because you don't have to go to the landowner and get permission so that it's part of the application. It's easier.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah. No, thank you. Moving forward, how do we get more kids to get into mining? Because I've always thought mining is for intelligent people. I mean, you talk about engineering and mining engineering, aeronautical, it sounds very fancy. Is it possible for a normal kid to have an ambition in mining? And the reason I ask this is because we've got Amazamazama today.
Yep.
They're illegal miners. And they look like they're doing it without the education, the schooling, the everything. So how do kids get into mining, number one? And number two, what makes one an illegal miner?
It's actually interesting when you said illegal mining because, you know, in West Africa, in Guinea, they're not called illegal miners. They're called artisanal miners.
Okay.
So the government allows them to mine wherever they go, as long as they don't disturb. Like if a Penwell owns a gold mine in Guinea somewhere and whatever. But for them to go mine outside that concession,
You're allowed.
you're allowed to go mine. They call them artisanal miners, and it's a normal thing. And people go mine there and get 4 or 5 kilograms or 10 kilograms of gold.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you think we should be moving in that direction as a
I
country?
think we should. I think we should, but it must be, you know, the problem with South Africa is that we've got beautiful laws,
Okay.
but it's very, they never get followed as we should follow them.
Yeah.
So even if we can make it a law that people will start killing each other unnecessarily and whatever. You know, like I've seen beautiful things. You know, like in Guinea, in West Africa, you go there, you see people, like a whole village mining gold in a specific area, nobody's fighting with anybody. Everybody's digging in their own hole, and they're getting whatever they're getting. They beneficiating, they're processing the thing, crush it, screen and whatever, and get whatever gold at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Nobody bothers anybody. South Africa is a bit of it's different.
Sure.
Because of culture and behavior and whatever.
Yeah.
So it becomes a bit of a problem when it comes to that. However, I think the South African government can be able to put rules and things like that to be able to allow this industry to grow on its own.
Yeah.
So the only problem now, Zamazamas are going to old mining areas, which is very dangerous.
For who? For them or for the
them.
environment?
For them.
Specifically for them.
It's dangerous for them as well,
Okay.
because those, if you go underground, because most Zamazamas, they go underground.
Yeah.
So if you go underground, it's dangerous, bruh. There's like a methane, there's like gases there that could
Kill you. Okay.
Yeah. And there's fall of ground that nobody checks anymore, like continuously.
Because there's no engineers anymore.
There's no engineers, there's nobody
Yeah.
that is able to check and say, okay, we need to support this ground, or we need to bring this one down because we won't be able to support it, regardless of whether we support it or not, it will come down. You understand? Nobody goes and tests.
Sure.
So these guys go there, and I'm sure, because it's undocumented, there's a whole lot of them that die underground.
I can imagine. The reason mining companies end up not mining a space, even though there's still value there, is it because of cost or is it because of something else? Because Zamazamas clearly find some stuff there, meaning there were some resources
because
left.
it's no longer economical for them to do that.
It's a cost thing. We're not
Yeah,
gonna. It costs us too much to mine.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, maybe it's like there's very tiny resources or reserves that are left for you to go mine, or minerals.
So what I'm hearing is it's not that easy for a kid to go into mining in this country because, number one, the resources belong to the state. Number two,
can I ask, when you say into mining, you meaning a kid going to go own a mine, or a kid going to work in a mining environment?
please can you answer both or speak to both?
Okay, so let me start with a kid going to work in a mining environment.
Yeah.
So a kid can go work in a mining environment.
Yeah.
So let me talk about myself. I come from the village, Ezava, in the Eastern Cape, deep down, dusty streets, whatever.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about mining, whatever. I happened to be introduced to mining by a guy by the name of Steph Standard, and they told me about that I'm going to make one of the best mining engineers. And at that time, I was young.
Yeah.
So you can be able to make it as a kid. Before, and even now, there's still bursaries and scholarships and whatever for kids to be able to go mine.
Sure.
I know Anglo-American, Anglo Platinum, and other companies, Loanmin and other companies, a lot of them, they do give bursaries to kids to be able to go study mining engineering.
Sure.
So you can be able to go study mining engineering. You can even be able to go study mining engineering through NEFSAS.
Is mining engineering the only way to work for a mine?
No. You can study mining engineering.
Yeah.
You can study survey. You can study geology. You can study metallurgy. There's a list of them. You can be a mechanical engineer.
Okay. You
can be electrical engineer. You can be all those work at the mine.
Okay.
So, but when you talk about mining engineering and we narrow it down to you going to dig and bring out the dirt for processing and beneficiation and whatever.
Yeah.
You need a mining engineer to go do that.
Okay.
Everybody else is a support system around that.
Okay. In terms of owning a mine?
In terms of owning a mine, it's a bit tricky.
Okay.
I know personally people that are owning mine. They've got mining rights. Yeah. That's what it means to own a mine.
Owning a mine means you have mining rights over a piece of land. Even if the land is not yours, you just have the right to mine that
100%.
land. Okay.
So, so those are the guys that you can. If, for example, but it's not as easy as the one for you to come in and work in a mining environment. It's quite difficult because there's a lot of red tape and processes and whatever.
Is the mining industry captured? Because once you start speaking rights, I start thinking of things like opening a bank. Getting a banking license in this country is very difficult. Opening an insurance company in this country is very difficult.
But so it's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but when you look at the numbers, I mean, opening a retail bank, you need at least 260 million. That cuts out 99.99999% of South Africans who will never have that money. So I'm trying to figure out, in terms of getting mining rights, is it just a matter of filling in paperwork? Do you need to have money? Do you need to have machinery, etc., etc.? Is it exclusionary? Because you speak about red tape now, and it sounds like, when I start hearing that, I start thinking that I think the industry is captured compared to places like you're saying in West Africa.
Now, look, I would say yes and no, but no, because I don't think it. I think a person like me, if I find coal in the Eastern Cape where I come from,
Yeah.
the process is for me to go have a conversation with the chief or a king or whoever, and then I get documentation, because I can't go to DMRE empty-handed and say there's coal there.
Yeah.
I need to say there's coal there, and I've spoken to the chief,
Yeah.
and I've done. So the problem with us, I'll say blacks, is that we block each other.
Okay.
If I go there to the chief will think, we're going to make this guy filthy rich, and, because if you don't get certain documentation from the chief,
Like a
or
right
the leader,
to work the land.
yes,
Okay.
the mining department, there's nothing that they can do.
And you need geologists as well.
And you need everybody else.
Are they
to come.
expensive? Because the geologist is the guy that tells you that there's minerals here or not.
Super expensive.
That cost on its own might keep you out.
Yeah, I mean to drill one hole, I think it's in some instances, depending how deep it is, it goes over $1 million.
Jeez. So kids should go and study geology. I think my
But if you own,
brother did geology for 6 months at varsity. Obviously rich man. Jeez.
But if you own a company that does geology,
Yeah.
you will be filthy rich.
Okay.
But if you work for that company, you will be like a mining engineer that works for an Anglo company or wherever.
Obviously, once you have mining rights, that means you're rich, Moss. It's game over. You can never lose money.
I know a guy, actually. I can't mention his name, but
Yeah.
I know a guy specifically. I've visited his mine. I've visited what he does, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like he owns the rights. In Limpopo, he mines the gold himself,
Okay.
and he processes the gold. He took me to his plant,
Yeah.
and he sells the gold somewhere in Joburg.
Yeah. But I'm saying you've hit the lottery. It's impossible for you to lose money
No, you
once
can't.
you've got the rights.
How?
So
The only
mining
thing
companies never lose money.
No, they do. They do.
Why?
So if the commodity prices go down, so the gold price, you know the gold price at some point was like 600, 700 US dollars per ounce.
Okay.
At some point.
What's an ounce?
An ounce, it's like 32 grams of
32 grams.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not South African. Is it South African
No, it's
metric?
not. It's not
Okay.
a South African metric, yeah.
So it's
like,
$600 per 32 grams.
yes.
Okay.
But what is it today? 1,700 and odd.
Yeah. So what does that mean in
Ounce.
business terms to a person that doesn't understand? If it's now gone down to 600, but it's there, the gold is there, the geologist confirmed, we've mined it. Why are we making a loss now?
So what happens is that it depends on your all-in sustaining cost.
Running the mine.
Yeah. The
Okay.
cost of running up until you sell the product.
Okay.
It's out of your hands. So if that cost, it's more than what
The $600, for example.
exactly,
Then
it's
you're at
gonna
a
start
loss.
losing money. But at the moment, for example, a lot of gold mining companies are creaming it, because the most gold mining companies, their all-in sustaining cost is less than $1,000 US dollars.
So they're making good profits now.
They make. I mean, a gold price was like a 2,000 ounces per ton.
Jeez, when it costs you less than 1,000 to mine.
I know a company that it was in West Africa. The all-in sustaining cost was like 545 US dollars per ounce,
Yeah. Jeez,
and
that's
the
crazy.
gold price was like 2,000 US dollars per ounce. Can you imagine?
Do the geologists ever get it wrong?
They do. In South Africa specifically, I know.
So that's another way you can lose money.
Yeah. In
Okay.
Western area, they went there, they said there's gold. But you know what the problem was? Is that they went to drill. So, sometimes, and every time they drill a hole, it hits a pocket of gold.
Sure.
And every time they drill a hole, it hits a pocket of gold.
So they were like, this
They
is
were like,
it.
yo, this is it. And when they went underground, they put a shaft, billions. Put a shaft, drill down, fucking put a plant. Everything must fucking work simultaneously.
Yeah.
Employing people fucking, bro, it was like crazy.
Yeah.
And when they got underground, It was a
Nothing.
pocket of gold.
You said
They had
something
to close
interesting.
it.
You said something interesting about your friend in Limpopo. You said he's mining the gold himself. Why did you say that? Isn't it obvious that once you have the mining rights, you mine yourself?
No, because other people, once you've got a mining right, you can look for investors that will come and take over the mine
Okay.
and give you a certain royalty
Okay.
for mining in your place.
So mining at your place, you can do it yourself, or you can give out something like a tender for other people to come and mine on
Not
your
even
behalf.
a tender. They come through and say, okay, Penwell, we know that you've got a mining rights and whatever. Or you approach them
Yeah.
that way. And then they said, okay, fine, we're willing to invest 5 billion rands to develop this mine, whatever.
Sure.
We want to have full ownership of everything. We will give you a 2% royalty for everything, for all the profits that we make.
You don't have to do anything, just
don't
because
to
you have
do
the
anything.
rights.
Just because you've got a right.
So this thing of owning rights is a big deal.
It's a huge deal. This guy actually
Yeah.
owns even iron ore rights in the Northern Cape.
I don't want to put you in a funny position, but if you're comfortable to answer, it's up to you. Because it sounds like having mining rights is having literally gold, because you can basically just earn royalties just for having the rights. Have you heard rumors of maybe bribes and funny dealings in acquiring the rights or struggling to get rights? Let's say, for example, I found a place, like you said, I found a place in the Eastern Cape. You go to the DMRE.
DMRE, yeah.
And then from there, they hear there's gold. Is there a chance that they might speak to some of their friends there so that they block the rights for you and give them to someone else?
Look, Ben, I think you cannot write that one off,
Yeah.
especially in an environment like South Africa.
Yeah.
You can't.
So it could be happening.
It could be happening. You can't write it off at all, because even normal citizens, when they get that, a Penwell gets that,
Yeah.
and then he feels, for me to fast track this process, I need to grease few of the guys there.
Sure.
People do that.
Is it possible to sell your rights once you have them?
Yeah, you sell them, bro. A lot of people do that.
Julius Malema was in court recently, and he was told about Cyril Ramaphosa and Patrice being billionaires. And he said, Your Honor, I'm not sure. Would you have any idea if Patrice owns land, owns mining rights, does his own mining, or does he outsource some of that stuff? And when a Julius says Patrice might not be rich, maybe he's just speaking to one of those elements, that maybe he doesn't have a mining company, he outsources that. Or maybe he actually doesn't own the land where he's mining. Or maybe he doesn't even own the rights. He does the mining on behalf of others. Would you have an idea of, especially for us, because we love worshipping Patrice as the wealthiest black man in the country?
Yeah. Now, look,
I'm not asking about him in particular. I'm just asking, do you
Yeah.
have any idea why Julius
I'm
could
gonna
say
ask-
something like that?
but I'm going to answer, I'm going to start with Patrice. So,
Okay.
So when I left Lonmin and I went to African Rainbow Minerals, which is Patrice's,
Yo, literally you were working for the family, because Lonmin, Cyril Ramaphosa has a stake.
yeah,
Marikana was one of the sites where people were killed. And then you went to work for the brother-in-law at African Rainbow Minerals.
so I
When
went
was
there.
Panelo Ramaphosa?
Nah. So I went to work there, and I remember very well. Patrice came to the mine, because I remember that mine. I personally, with a guy by the name of Chris Rees.
Yeah.
He's retired now, an Afrikaans guy. We did our first blast at Kumani Iron Ore Mine in the Northern Cape, 2008, 25th of January, of June.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, 25th June, 2008.
Yeah.
We did our first blast there.
A blast
And-
means you were blowing up.
Yeah. So what happened is that we identified that there was an outcrop, it's an open pit mining.
Okay.
There was an outcrop of iron ore,
Yeah.
and it was so rich, and we had to go start there.
Bomb it.
We went there and we bombed it,
Sure.
and I wish I would have taken a picture, and so that I can have it today.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful memory. But a few months later, Patrice came through to the mine, because it was a new mine.
Was it his mine?
Yeah,
Okay.
it belongs under Arm and
Okay.
Asmang. Came through them, and he was starting to ask, what is that? Like a dump truck. I was like,
Hey, Bo.
this nigga does not know what a dump truck is. And I spent all my life at varsity and everywhere else to learn what a dump truck is and what it does.
Yeah.
And this guy owns this place, does not know what it is.
Yeah.
He probably signs checks to say, okay, we're going to purchase 20 dump trucks. One dump truck is 20 million rand.
Jeez.
And he signs it.
Yeah.
But this guy
He
doesn't
know what it is.
Jesus Christ. Like, I was so confused.
Yeah.
I was young and I was like very confused.
Sure. At the time, you probably thought, no, he doesn't really own it. He's
Yeah, I
just a
thought,
front.
nah.
He's just a front.
There's no way. But because you must remember, generally around Patrice, there's only pure Afrikaans white people
Jeez.
around him.
Okay.
Even for Asmang, and if you can go to those mines, I mean, they purely ran like farms.
Jeez.
You know, so
You say in Patrice's business, it's mostly white Afrikaans people that work there.
yeah,
Men
no,
in particular.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, clean. So for me, I don't think it's an issue of, I don't know for sure
Yeah.
that Patrice owns or does not own. I don't
Yeah.
know for sure.
Sure.
But I can tell you about what I know that nobody else told me.
Which is in operations.
Yes. I used to come to head office. I mean, Chisel Histon in Sentin,
Yeah.
where the offices are. I used to go there.
What did you learn from that? I'm asking a sneaky question. What did you learn from that, from a business owning a business perspective and outsourcing perspective?
Yeah. So it's a bit different from mining.
Yeah.
So it's a story that I love farming,
Yeah.
and recently I bought 20 dairy farms, dairy cows,
No,
Frieslands.
20 dairy farms.
No,
Sure, 20 dairy cows.
yeah, Frieslands, and they were all pregnant, and the Department of Agriculture, where I come from, they were extremely excited
Yeah.
about this whole project, and they loved it.
Yeah.
So they gave me a call at Stickspruit and to come through to have a meeting with them and whatever. And then they were like saying to me, no, you need to, for you to get funding, you need to, you are now, you are no longer youth. You need to get youth, women, probably crippled and whatever. The case
Aibo.
was. And get those people to come and
And set up a co-op. I've
And
heard
set
of
up a
that.
co-op,
Cooperative.
and I was not happy about that because in my heart though.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself that it would be easier to get funding if I do that.
Yeah.
But I won't have ownership of this thing.
Yeah.
And if I don't have ownership of this thing, I don't have control of this thing.
Yeah.
And if I don't have control of this thing, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because this is my baby, this is what I've started.
Yeah.
I started this thing from ground up.
Yeah.
I started this thing from nothing.
Yeah.
And now it's here. Now I need to change the ownership of this thing.
Sure.
So I had an issue with that personally. So there's two things, because I didn't do that to become rich overnight.
Sure.
I did that because I'm a process man. I when I start any business, I love the process more than the results.
Okay.
If I concentrate on the results, it becomes a problem. Because as soon as you concentrate on the results, you forget the real thing.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy it anymore, because when the results don't come, you get frustrated, you get stressed, you become a different person.
Sure.
For me, I love the process. The process, it can be failure, can be success,
And that's operations.
that's operations, it can be anything.
Yeah.
I couldn't care.
And the ownership may, the young, black, female,
Nah, the
crippled,
ownership must be.
that might be ownership.
I want ownership to be with me.
So the reason I said it's a sneaky question is because my own understanding of business is that the owner versus the manager or the operations guy may be different from even some of the outsourced suppliers. So I wouldn't be surprised if a Patrice doesn't know how a mine works, even though he owns it. I wouldn't be surprised if a Brian Joffe doesn't
True.
understand the tenders,
True, by the way.
tender process for Bidvest and how Bidvest
True.
operates.
No, he doesn't have to.
Yeah, at all. And that doesn't mean it's not his mine. It
Yeah.
just means it's not his area of expertise.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True story. I mean, Patrice is a lawyer, right?
Yes, he's a
Yeah.
lawyer by profession. He was a partner at one of the big law firms.
So, I mean, why would you want a guy like that? I mean, I understand now.
Yeah.
I was young then. I understand now that Patrice does not have to know a dump truck.
Sure,
A seer must go and know what a dump truck is, because I'm employed to do that.
sure. A taxi owner doesn't need to know how to service his own taxi.
No.
Yeah,
So a Patrice, the only thing that it does is to negotiate funding with whoever and look for more opportunities of getting more mines in Congo,
Yeah.
wherever. You know, African Ramo Minerals have got mines wherever in Southern Africa.
Jeez.
It's not only in South Africa.
You speak about funding, and I heard earlier you mentioned something about BEE. Do you think BEE has been good for mining, number one? And number two, do you think some
Has
of
been
the
good for certain people.
some of the heavyweights in mining, Patrice being one of them, Cyril at some point, I think Usaki Makozoma, another BEE beneficiary. I think
Not you think, Saki Makozoma for sure.
yeah, there's a couple of other big
I know
names.
it's mine. Yeah.
There's a couple of other big names. Oh, Mamo Defni Nkosi as
Definitely.
well. I think Bridget Mutsipe
I know definitely
as well.
mine.
Do you think BEE has been good for mining for this country and for black people in general? Or do you think it's just been a matter of a few handpicked black people being given a shot? And given the shot to what you were saying about your example with the dairy farm, just so they can be a face, so it's easier to raise funding from government or from other places because we are BEE compliant. Therefore, but when you look at the real operations and maybe the real
It's
ownership,
run by someone else.
it might be someone else.
Yeah. So, I don't want to give you a straight answer.
Sure.
So in mining, I think generally BE has been good in mining
For the industry
for the industry because
Okay.
I'm a product of it, to be honest.
of BEE.
Not, I would like to call it BE because the mining companies were forced to give black, young, talented kids bursaries and opportunities.
Otherwise, they would not have done it.
Otherwise, they would have never done it.
Yeah.
So I think in that way, in that sense, it has been very good.
Okay.
I mean, if you go to the DMRE, Department of Minerals and Energy, there's a whole lot of black people that are running that business.
Who's
Very
the
few.
minister there?
Kwere Mantashe.
Come on. Ukwere holds the power over mining rights
He
and the like.
holds the power over everything.
Jeez, okay.
And you know, mining contributes about 8.7% towards the GDP of South Africa.
I can tell you that back in the day, I think it went up as far as 60%. That's why I'm saying that we used to live on mining. Obviously, it's expanded now and it's become smaller. But
I think the services department are starting to contribute more.
yeah, because if you
Yeah.
think about it, if someone's going to say mining runs this country, they're speaking something like electricity. That's coal.
Yes.
You're speaking steel, you're speaking cars or whatever other steel product you need.
Aluminium, chrome.
That's all mining. So it may not from a financial perspective carry that weight, but without mining, you switch everything off.
Yes.
No, I hear you.
100%.
Sorry, at the DMRE, BEE.
So for me, I think it contributed a bit.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to that, and I'm a product of that. You
Yeah.
know, I cannot shy away from that. When it comes to the business side of it, because it's two different things. Getting kids to come through to mining and opening doors for them and whatever
Yeah.
by forcing companies to come through. Initially, I think from the business side of things, it only benefited a few. Cyril, Saki, and whoever the case might be,
Yeah.
they benefited from it heavily.
Yeah.
And then there was this thing of fronting as well, which I hate so much,
Yeah.
which a lot of other black people that fronted and made millions
Yeah.
out of it. Good for them,
Yeah.
but it's not good for the industry and the
Sure.
real growth, you know. Recently, the government is really pushing for companies to make sure that they develop proper businesses from the communities to take part in the mining space. So, for example, in the Northern Cape, if there's a mine there, and the guys, and they say to you, okay, Penwell Iron Ore, PTY Ltd, for you to be able to operate here, you need to give 40% of the business to local businesses.
Yeah. That's
And
empowerment.
if you don't do that, you won't renew your license.
Yes,
to-
sir. So
to
Lama
operate.
rights need to be renewed as well.
Yeah, of course. It's not a forever thing. It's not an infinite thing.
Yeah.
So they say we're not gonna renew these things anymore.
Yeah.
So what you do then from there is that you go and start looking for the seers in the community.
Yeah.
that have got brains, they've got businesses and whatever. You bring them through, you train them through something that they called ED, which is enterprise development, or you go through SD, which is supplier development, and then you bring them through those guys.
Yeah.
And then some of them, you get to a point where you create partnership. You literally give 40% or 51% of your business to the local community, and you keep 49%.
That's empowerment.
That's empowerment.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is sorry, we're going to be closing the conversation soon.
Yeah, no problem.
What is special about you? Are you happy to talk about your position, the work you do, and what makes you unique in the space you're in?
Yeah,
you in particular.
Yeah, I'm happy. So for me, I'm a mining engineer by profession.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a different mining engineer.
Okay.
I'm not a mining engineer that went the traditional route.
Okay.
I'm a mining engineer that was interested in the real mining in terms of finance, projects, building businesses and mining, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I took that route, which very few take. You know,
because they're not aware of it.
Some are not aware of it.
Yeah.
Some are aware of it, but they think maybe it's difficult or impossible.
Okay.
Or some are chasing money.
Okay.
Because if you go the production route, there's a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, I looked at it like you're short-sighted. I mean, to look at money now so that you can go, that you're driving a Golf 7 or Golf 8.
Sure.
Because you're earning so much money.
Sure.
For me, it was not about that. For me, it was about making sure that I understand the industry because I was there already. As much as I didn't know what mining is, I never chose to be in mining, but I had to make it work. Yeah. So I had to look for different industries and avenues to make sure that this thing works. So when I started, I went to production in the Northern Cape, PS Hoek. And then when I came to Joburg, then I went to Kumani when I started this mine, 25th June, Kumani, 2008. And then I came to Joburg. When I came in, what interested me most is that I was going to become a estimating engineer, cost estimating engineer.
Yeah.
Cost estimating engineer meaning that I was going to start pricing projects from scratch. So, for example, if you are a mine owner, you want to open a gold mine, you're going to go there and put geologists and whoever else and your planning guys and technical guys and whatever. They'll give you a scope to say there is 4 million ounces of gold here. For you to mine them, you're going to need to remove so much waste to get to the gold and so much gold out and whatever the case might be. You send that through to us, to the company that I work for. So as a cost estimating engineer, I'll take that information, analyze it, and cost it. And say for us to be able to move the waste out to this point, it's going to cost so much. For us to be able to move the gold out or from this point to the crusher, it's going to cost this much. For us to be able to rehandle the ore to the crusher, it's going to cost this much.
Yeah.
For us to be able to drill and blast, it's going to cost this much. I was so fascinated about that because that's the real thing.
Yeah.
Think about it. That's the real thing because mining is like any other business. It's cost, it's revenue, cost, and the delta between those two, it gives you the GP, the gross margin, gross profit.
Yeah.
Okay? So I was fascinated about that.
Yeah.
The financial side of mining, the real thing about mining. Not just to go there not knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Do you have any idea how many cost estimating engineers are in this country or on the continent?
I don't know. I don't know. I think they get produced now and again. But the chance that I know, very few from the mining engineers that I know.
The industry is small.
The industry is quite small.
How's the money as a mining engineer? Always have to go back to the money because that's what you saw most from your family member.
Yeah, the money is quite. I would say the money is quite good. Let's
talk range, minimum to maybe maximum ish, and per month.
Depends.
People struggle with these annual things.
It depends what your position is.
Yeah.
So if you are a production manager, in a contracting space,
is that sort of at the bottom?
No.
Okay.
It's management.
Let's start at the bottom. Mining engineer, you've graduated, you're about to go and work for a standard mine.
Yeah, so back then, if I can talk about me, back then I used to earn My first salary when I finished varsity, it was 23,000.
23,000. Sure.
Yeah. And then I used to take home about 12, 13.
Okay.
And
Junior management?
junior management, the guys earn between 30 and 50.
Okay. Senior management?
Senior management without executives.
Yes, that's before we get to exec.
Yeah. Senior management earns between 50 and 100.
1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Before tax.
Before tax. Gross.
Once you get to executive level, this means you're making decisions on behalf of the company or of
Yes.
the mine.
Yes.
How does it look there for just an average mine? Not the biggest, just
Plus
average.
3 million a year.
How much is that per month? 3 million.
Plus
Do
3
the
million a year.
calculations. 250,000 a month.
Gross.
Jeez. When again, now that we've spoken about it, are you a junior?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Jeez. Siano, thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you, bro.
I'm hoping that we'll have more.
We
I know
have
there
to.
are certain industries in this country that people think are exclusionary to people. So if you're speaking, number one, kids working. Number two, the fact that some mines have to get community involved, which means kids need to find out, is there a mine in your community?
Yeah.
And who is involved in that mine? Maybe you can get
Yeah.
involved in that way. Maybe getting into politics like Kwede, which I want to be the Minister of Mineral Resources
I
one
would
day.
like to be a Minister of Minerals Resources, by the way.
Is it?
Gwera must,
Uzongama mining rights.
must pass the baton.
Uzongama mining rights.
Nah, you're my nigga. I have to.
And then I believe the country still needs to be explored. I know Australia is a big mining country. And I think we still need to travel the world and maybe mine
Yeah, for sure.
and strive to become the best
Can
miners
I,
in the world.
Can I give you something
Yeah.
as a word of closing? Mining in South Africa started in the 80s, 1800s.
Yeah.
I think the first discovery of something was in 1838 or something. It was coal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether in KZN or Eastern Cape or Mpumalanga. Okay, that's how old mining is. And then the first diamond or whatever was in 1852 or something like that, or gold, somewhere there. So that's how old mining is.
Yeah.
And I think we should never forget that the contribution that mining has. Like you were saying that 60% of the GDP at some point, it was mining.
Yeah.
Because that's how important mining is. And I didn't know that when as growing up as a kid. And I wish this conversation that we're having, me and you, I'd listened to it when I was a kid, because I would have made better earlier decisions. I've made great decisions,
Yeah.
but better earlier decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
sharing
so
your
much.
knowledge with us, and we're looking forward to engaging with you again soon.
Thank you so much, bro. I
Easy.
appreciate it, and I know it was not a must for you to invite me to come here, but I feel like very privileged, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that I've shared knowledge and understanding
Yeah.
that I have regarding mining.
No, when I bring you back, I want us to discuss all the other things, but it's not for today. I want to discuss CIA music, the books that you've written, the agriculture you spoke about, and
Yo,
everything
trust
else.
me.
Thanks a
Trust
lot,
me.
brother.
Thank you, bro.
Easy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.